I wonder if Mick Jagger will ever need any kind of caregiver. The guy still runs back and forth on stage, flapping his arms like crazy. God bless him. Unfortunately, not all of us are that fortunate. Welcome back, folks. It's the Ray Lucia Show. You know, I was mentioning to Bobby a few minutes ago about my weekend. And because there are, a bunch of kids in our family, we rotate out weekends taking care of my 90-year-old dad. And yesterday was an interesting challenge for me because, I picked him up, we took him to the cemetery, we did all that stuff because he goes every day. That's what he lives for. And visits with my mom, and then we take him to lunch, and then we go to church, and et cetera, et cetera. And when I first saw him, he was sitting at the kitchen table filling out his, donations for the church and the school and all that stuff, $10, $20. Wasn't a lot of money. And I said, well, Dad, I'll put those in my pocket and I'll hold on to them. And no less than 12 times he asked me if, in fact, he had made out the checks for church that day. Joining me on the program, Charmaine Conaghan. She's the owner of Glenview, Illinois' Always Best Care. It's a story, Charmaine, I'm sure that you've heard many, many times before. Welcome to the Ray Lucia Show. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
So, fortunately in our case, we have full-time, other than the weekends, help to make sure my dad doesn't forget to take his meds, etc. But it's at the beginning stages of Alzheimer's. I know that's an area of specialization that Always Best Care covers, and you specifically cover. Can you just talk about that for just a moment?
Sure. Often we will get a call from a family, and they call and they describe early stages of Alzheimer's, and they don't even realize that that's what they're describing. They often think that it's just a normal part of aging, and the more they talk, the more I can help them realize what they really are facing, and that they really need to get a handle on things sooner rather than later.
Now, when you talk about
many reasons.
When you talk about sooner rather than later, how can you inform our viewers and listeners as to what they should be looking for in order to make the call? Because I would assume that you're somewhat numb to that. How does a child know when to make that call?
The easiest thing to do is to brush it aside. Oh, Mom, you just asked me that 5 minutes ago. Or, Dad must not have slept very well last night. You don't want to really face the reality, because it's scary for everyone to come to the realization that there's memory loss happening, because, you can't turn that around, really. You can slow it down, you can address it, but you can't fix it, really. So it's very difficult for people to accept it. The things that you look for are, if, as you said, if they're asking you several times if they've done something that that they, just did, if they're repeating stories, if they're wearing clothes that are either not appropriate to the situation, or if they're wearing stained clothing. Hygiene seems to go a little bit by the wayside. There are several things that you can look for. If their house becomes a little bit cluttered with mail that, if they don't realize what they should be keeping and what's junk mail, if they've paid a bill or if they've not paid a bill, if you think about it in day-to-day living, there are a lot of things that we keep track of. And if you start losing a handle,
Always Best Care. You want to write this number down, folks, because it's going to happen. It's just a question of when. If your mom or dad are still alive and you're a baby boomer, 855-470-CARE. Fantastic organization. I've been to their annual meeting. Great group of people. 855-470-CARE, or go to alwaysbestcare.com. My guest is Charmaine Conaghan. She's in Illinois. Now, you mentioned, Charmaine, in some of the stuff that I've researched on you, that even if an individual, a senior, for example, is confined to a hospital bed, they may want to have some other professional there helping to care for them. But I thought if you're in a hospital that you could just push the button and somebody comes a-running.
That's right. Ray, this is a big one for me, and this is something that people just don't realize. Because you're right, a family thinks if their loved one is in the hospital, then they're being cared for at the highest level. And they are. But someone cannot be with them all of the time. And if there's someone in the hospital and they have dementia, they don't realize, sometimes they don't even know that they're in the hospital. There's a scenario, I like to illustrate this by saying, you know, if mom has broken her ankle and she's in the hospital and she has mid-stage dementia, she realizes that she needs to go to the bathroom, her first instinct is to try to get out of bed. Now, if she can get past those bed rails, then you've got a problem. And even if she remembers that, oh, maybe I shouldn't get out of bed, I've got this cast here, maybe I shouldn't be getting out of bed, she doesn't know how to ask for help. What's a call button? How do you use a call button? You know, when you have dementia, you don't know how to get help. So it's very important, I believe, to have someone with your loved one when they have dementia in the hospital or even in rehab. You know, if their breakfast tray comes, the hospital doesn't have the staffing to be able to send someone in there and make sure they eat their food, make sure that they're drinking enough. They do the best they can to come in and check on people as often as they can, but there's nothing like having an attendant there advocating for them and making sure their needs are met.
So when you talk about
keeping
that,
them safe.
What do we have to do if we're in a situation where we have parents and we suspect that they're en route to some form of dementia or have certain needs? How do you involve yourself in the 1 minute that we have left to help that particular family?
You know, the first thing I ask a family is if they've seen their doctor in the last few months. You know, a GP can either refer them out to a neurologist or they can, assess them. There is a screening tool that doctors use to assess whether someone has early stage memory loss, and that is the first step. And I highly recommend that people do that.
I would highly recommend that as well. And there are now these memory care facilities that are popping up all over the country. And I know one of the things you do at Always Best Care is you evaluate the facilities in the area to make sure that you've got the right person matched up with the right facility. Charmaine, I want to thank you very much. Charmaine Conaghan, alwaysbestcare.com, 855-470-CARE. This is an amazing organization. You want to get to know them in your area. They are nationwide. And if you happen to be in Illinois, call Charmaine Conaghan, 855-470-CARE, alwaysbestcare.com. Charmaine, thank you so much. God bless. Great job today.
Thanks, Ray. Thank you very much. Have a great one.
We'll take a quick break and come back with more of the Ray Lucia Show. Stick around, folks. Got more to cover here. A lot of ground to cover with Bobby Wu, so don't go away.